In a surprising turn of events, a relatively unknown 70-year-old prodigy from Uzbekistan named Nodirbek Abdusattorov caused a sensation in the world of chess by defeating Magnus Carlsen and other esteemed players. This achievement incidentally set a new world record for the youngest player to achieve success in rapid chess, a format where each player has 15 minutes for all moves, with a 10-second increment per move. Magnus Carlsen, a renowned chess player who had previously won 3 World Rapid Championships, seemed poised to secure his 4th title, having triumphed over formidable opponents like Ali Reza, Firoz Shah and Jan-Krzysztof Duda in the World Rapid semi-finals. Carlsen led the tournament with an impressive score of 7.5 out of 9. Unbeknownst to Carlsen, there was a rising star in the chess world, Nodirbek Abdusattorov, who was swiftly climbing the ranks by defeating top 10 players such as Levon Aronian and Fabiano Caruana. Abdusattorov had already achieved the title of grandmaster at the tender age of 13 years, 1 month and 11 days, displaying exceptional talent and potential. Abdusattorov was not merely participating in the tournament, he had a resolute determination to conquer the competition. Now he found himself pitted against a player who, at the age of 13, had garnered even greater renown than himself, Magnus Carlsen. While Abdusattorov was undeniably a remarkable talent, Carlsen himself was hailed as a prestigious genius, having famously defeated Anatoly Karpov at the astonishing age of 13. However, Carlsen underestimated the true prowess of Abdusattorov, possibly due to the latter's lower rating as a player. During the early stages of Abdusattorov's promising career, he'd already secured the World Under-8 Championship title, defeated 2 grandmasters at the age of 9, and even been featured in discussions when he narrowly missed becoming the youngest ever grandmaster by the age of 12. But let's see if he misses this opportunity. Let the battle commence. Abdusattorov White decided to kick things off with a move to c4. Carlsen, the master of contemplation, pondered and pondered, leaving us all wondering if he had time travelled to the future. Finally, he countered with knight f6, probably after consulting the wise sages of chess. And so began a grand showdown featuring the English opening, where pawns frolicked on squares c4 and e4, and knights danced gracefully on squares c6 and f6. A quartet of noble knights had assembled on the battlefield. Notice the bishop c5 from Magnus is a mistake because of knight e5. That's the reason why Magnus goes for bishop b4. With the game progressing, a sneaky move enters the stage, d3. Abdusattorov, like a crafty puppeteer, pulls the strings, while Carlsen, the master of central control, fortifies his position with a resolute d6 move. The bishop, caught in the middle of the chess melodrama, retreats obediently to c5, probably in search of some serenity. Abdusattorov, driven by an insatiable desire to capture that bishop, plays the cunning b4 move, giving it a firm shove. No mercy, he seems to say. However, Carlsen, like a sly fox, refuses to give up easily. He responds with bishop b6, standing his ground and sending a message: not so fast. Abdusattorov, unwillingly to let go of his obsession, takes a leap of faith. He sends his knight galloping to a4, determined to capture that bishop no matter the cost, and the bishop is taken. And then another Magnus's bishop is taken, but Abdusattorov has lost both his knights, turning the game into 2 knights versus 2 bishops. In a few moves, Abdusattorov is offered a tempting trade of queens. While he succumbed to the allure of an early exchange, nay, he shakes his head and retreats his queen back to d1, rejecting the proposal with a flick of his raw wrist. In this particular situation, Carlsen recognised a favourable moment to initiate an offensive manoeuvre. He strategically advanced his pawn to g5, intending to subsequently move another pawn to h5 in order to attack white king. The king had been safeguarded by 3 pawns. Later in the game, Carlsen once again proposed a trade of queens by placing his queen on g4, aiming to transition into a quick and easy endgame. By making his decision, Carlsen demonstrated his readiness to engage in the endgame once more. However, Abdusattorov had previously rejected Carlsen's offer due to Carlsen's reputation as an expert in the endgame positions, capable of transforming even the simplest situations into victories. This time though, Abdusattorov accepted the offer, placing his queen on f3. At this point, Magnus had the option to exchange the queens and continue the game later with moves such as king e7, but he opted instead to play f6, which turned out to be a wise move. Subsequently, Abdusattorov had a change of mind regarding the queen exchange and instead made the move queen e3, opting to keep the queens on the board at this point. Carlsen displayed a thoughtful demeanour, picking up a pawn piece when engaging in deep contemplation. With careful calculation, Carlsen pondered his potential moves, scratching his head and reassessing the various possibilities. After a series of subsequent moves, he introduced his other rook into the game, applying pressure to the g8 square. Consequently, Magnus found himself compelled to capture the rook on g6. Additionally, in terms of time management, Magnus had 5 minutes remaining on his clock, while Abdusattorov had 4 minutes and 40 seconds. After contemplating for a significant amount of time, Carlsen eventually decided to capture the pawn, which could potentially be the correct decision in this situation. Following a few more moves, Abdusattorov successfully advanced his pawn to the g6 square, putting Carlsen in a position where he had to defend by moving his rook to g8. This move by Carlsen aimed to prevent Abdusattorov's pawn from promoting to a queen, which would result in a winning advantage. Now the tension in the air was palpable as Carlsen's frustration started to show. He knew all too well that Abdusattorov was playing out of his mind, giving him a run for his money. The game reached a point where the material on the board was equal, but danger lurked in the form of Abdusattorov's menacing passed pawn on h2. Carlsen's initial move was send his knight to c5, seemingly posing a threat to a pawn on d3. However, it was a clever ruse. Capturing that pawn would result in a deadly checkmate with queen h3. After a few more moves, the game seemed to stagnate with minimal progress. A couple of pawns were traded, and Carlsen came to the realization that winning the position was a tall order. Abdusattorov's dangerous pass down pawn posed a constant headache, and with fewer pieces on the board, Carlsen had to act swiftly to impede its advancement. The delicate balance couldn't be held for long as subsequent moves were revealed. After delivering a check to Carlsen's king, Abdusattorov played h7, presenting a menacing threat to promote his pawn to queen. Carlsen couldn't allow that to happen, and with the clock ticking against him, he hastily played queen e5, aiming to defend the critical square. He should have gone to queen g1. This could have been a fatal mistake if it had been spotted, which unfortunately for him, he missed, and went to king g4. And just like that, the game returned to a state of equilibrium, with both players back on even ground. But not for long. Confused Magnus decided to go to king a2, and this is actually not the best move, giving his opponent some chances to win. And it did. When Magnus had only 1 second on the clock, he gave his pawn and played b4, and answer to that, Abdusattorov played queen d2. Magnus then blunders with king a1 and missed the queen d4 check. And now Magnus has lost the game, and the winds have changed blur through the chess kingdom. However, despite his esteemed reputation as the world champion, the tides have turned against him. At a mere 17 years and 3 months, he became the youngest ever world champion, sending shockwaves through the chess community. But that's not all. His achievements extend beyond the rapid format. He also becomes the youngest open world chess champion in any time format, shattering previous records held by Carlsen himself.